My name is Gabe Adderhold. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I identify as gay. So I am incredibly passionate about politics. I'm a member of the Heritage and Preservation Commission here in Edina, and I have been involved in a lot of campaigns in the past, ran for office last year. Other than that, love nature, love cats, yeah. I've lived in Edina for most of my life.
My name is Grayson, and I use he, him pronouns. I'm a trans masculine. So I write for the Edina High School's student publication, Zephyrs. I'm a sports correspondent and page editor. And I will be a leader of the GSA, and I've been involved with mock trial.
So basically, I've lived in Edina my entire life. I do a lot of music, as in too much music. I identify as a trans woman, non-binary, pansexual, and queer. Having things to describe myself and my identity is important to me.
I use she, her pronouns, and the only label I use is lesbian. I do art and theater, and I put a lot of time into general activism, especially the GSA. I lived in Minneapolis for the first 5 years of my life, and then I moved to Eastern Europe and lived there for a few years. I moved back to Minneapolis, and I've been at Edina since.
I'm Brigida James. I'm non-binary and a lesbian. I use they, them pronouns. Kind of any pronouns, I guess, but like more specifically they, them pronouns. I live in Ridgefield, and I've been there my whole life, so I used to go to a Catholic school. That was a mess, and then I moved to Edina in like second grade. So I guess I really like doing makeup. Like it's something that I've had a genuine interest in for a long time. You can probably tell. I like my pets, I guess. They're all like reptiles. I have like 6 geckos, like a snake and a hedgehog now, and like dogs and all that stuff.
Make a date, go by date. I had a couple roles I did. The first one was the YSY, serving youth. So holding it down, doing community service letter, and then advising groups like the GSA, which was fun. Then I did social worker, maternity leave, and then I got to be a dean for a little bit, which is the options.
And your pronouns?
They, them, and I go by Tate. I grew up in the western suburbs, though, like I live in Hopkins right now. I was familiar with the community, but it was a little bit of a surprise. Then in social services for like 16 years, very much involved in social justice work, anti-racism work, the intersections of identities, LGBTQ, all of that. And then also, I really into pop culture and music, and being outside, and trying to do things like a little bit against the status quo. So I identify as queer. That hasn't always been the case. There's like a progression spectrum, like for anybody else. Same with my gender identity. I identify as genderqueer, so I'm like both, neither, what have you. And I enjoy like living not in A or B, whether it's my sexuality or my gender.
Sure, I'm Eric Gronberg, and I use the him, he pronouns, and I'm a Spanish teacher here at Edina High School. I do not live in Edina. I'm not from here. I'm from, I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I moved to Minnesota to go to college, and then, so I was up in Moorhead, and then I moved to the Twin Cities to go to grad school. No, I live in Minneapolis, so I've been in Edina since 2000, so this is my 18th year here. I like to camp, so I'm really looking forward to getting out. I'm gonna go by myself for a couple days, like as soon as school gets out. So anything I can do outside. I like to run, I like to bike. I play on a softball team in a league here in town. It's actually a LGBT league. I'm good with just about anything. I tend to avoid the big crowds. I'm more of an introvert than an extrovert, for sure. But yeah, I mean, essentially anything I can do that puts me outside makes me happy. So I guess I would identify myself as a gay guy. I don't know, I don't really have a teacher. Is that a label? Do I get to use that?
It's just feeling comfortable with myself. I think that's kind of the best part of being LGBT, because like it took me so long to like actually like myself, like for who I am, and it's not even just because I'm gay, but like I feel like being gay made me feel like I have a purpose, and I feel like comfortable with myself, I'm happy with myself, I'm happy with who I am, how I live, and all that stuff.
Positives of being LGBT are, it's not really a choice. So identifying as LGBT is accepting yourself who you are. I think that's a big problem.
So when working in the GSA, like the GSA is a lot of students. That's a safe space for them, but also you get the vibe that maybe some of those students are kind of comfortable, at least kind of. But then when you're in like a social work position, you may meet some of the students that maybe don't even like go to the GSA, right? Like haven't even unpacked that.
I was a very confused child. I was like, I don't understand why I have to fit with male social norms, because they're icky and gross. And then I came across the term gender fluid. I was very confused because at the time I didn't understand the difference between physical sex and gender identity, so I was thinking there were people who shapeshifted into completely different people when they wanted to use a different bathroom. I was just like, can I learn how to do that? There were a lot of warning signs, but I didn't figure it out until I got a consistent therapist where we could talk about that. Internally, I was confused because there was this jumble of stuff that I was, and I didn't know what to call it.
Well, I think the hardest part is like people want answers. Either you're straight or you're gay or you're male or female. If you're in the middle, people will make assumptions. Like, many of us want to transition or take tea or have a surgery or whatever. I think people get really comfortable with the unknown. And so that can be difficult, but that's also really beautiful because you're just kind of a walking example of something different. So especially for younger folks, like people in high school, but even like elementary age kids, like, are you a boy or girl? It's like, what do you think? And then their mind's just like, yeah, so there are struggles, like constantly, which, am I going to go to the bathroom? Am I going to be called out? Like things like that.
Okay, I'm gonna go more in detail about the bathroom because I'm still really mad about that.
Go ahead.
Okay. I hate going into the girls' bathroom because, like, I feel like the straight people, the straights, I guess, they make me feel like I'm a predator for going into the girls' bathroom because I feel like, well, I don't even feel like, it's like I know that a lot of the times they think that I'm gonna go after them or like try to hit on them and all that stuff. That's like the most like prominent part that I hate. This happened twice. This was last year, and like I went to the bathroom by like EPAC when it was open, and like I was washing my hands, and then this girl came in and she had really nice eyebrows, right? So obviously I'm like, I'm gonna compliment her because damn, those eyebrows were really good. And like, so I was like, hey, like your eyebrows like look really nice. I asked her what products she used and all that stuff, and she was like, she like looked me up and down and was like, I don't swing that way. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So I just like walked out because it was just like, I never meant like anything directly to like hit on her or anything like that. I literally just liked her eyebrows. Like it wasn't anything special. So it was like, whatever. And then like another time was last year too, where like this girl had like really cute shorts on. And so like obviously like I'm gonna compliment her because they're really cute. And like she was like, I have a boyfriend. And I never meant anything to like ever hit on them or anything like that. I literally just wanted to tell them like, hey, that looks nice, because it feels good when someone compliments you. Like I want to like spread that feeling, but no. And it's like that's what makes me feel like a predator, and that's what I'm terrified of because I don't want to like come off as like, oh, I'm going after you. And it's like I feel like that's something like eternally myself too, where it's like I'm scared. And I also feel like that's why I still present myself as a little bit more feminist, because like so the straights don't think I'm coming after them. And I know that's not everyone, but like, it's still very prominent.
So does that make you feel like unsafe in Edina?
Yeah. It just makes me like I can't be myself. But like, as soon as I'm like in an environment where I'm not with my friends or like just like in the normal classroom, I'm like scared to like talk to other people sometimes because it's like I don't want them to think that I'm going after them, because that's like it's not even that big of an issue, but like it is.
I think the downsides are not from the LGBT label, they're from people who don't understand it or are scared of it, because oppression is derived from fear.
I oftentimes see being a member of the LGBT community as kind of a neutral thing. There's positive things and negative things, but those things come more from society, and my sexual orientation and identity is just kind of who I am. One of those positive things from society, I think, are being able to be part of the community when we've seen a lot of progress over the past 5 to 10 years is really cool. I think there is this amazing ability to engage in self-expression, especially in this community, to be openly gay and to talk about that is something I largely feel safe doing personally, and this definitely comes from like the perspective of a gay male, and I know that there are other people in our LGBTQ community this wouldn't apply to. I haven't ever faced discrimination based on my sexual orientation in Edina.
There's like a certain degree of awkwardness, not necessarily for the transgender person in question in this example, but for the person who's just found out. Like last year, I was dating a girl, and one of her friends like found out, and they like pulled the girl aside and was like, "Hey, like your boyfriend, he's a woman," and just kind of like, no, not really. So being stealth has been interesting because it seems when people find out through one way or another, they feel like they've been lied to, even though it isn't really their business to begin with.
Most of my struggles are out of school. My family isn't that LGBTQ friendly. I'm not out to them. I'm out to a lot of my friends at school, and being the leader of the GSA means it's kind of required that I'm out to most of the school, which I honestly don't mind. But there has been a lot of outing that hasn't come directly from me. I'm not officially out, and I tell my friends not to tell people. It's my thing to tell. People might treat me awkwardly or weirdly because of it. It doesn't really affect me that much at school, which is great, but you can kind of tell when someone knows about it and there's this awkward air around you. That's one of the number one things. It's more of an irritation, really. In Eastern Europe, it's never talked about, especially since I lived in a small town. You were as likely to be a wizard as you were to be gay. I didn't even consider the possibility until I moved to America. It always felt kind of weird, but I didn't know what it was. I was raised in such a heteronormative way that it never crossed my mind. But now I visit Eastern Europe sometimes, and seeing how homophobic people are there is really a different experience.
From when I went to Mexico to visit family, because I go there every 2 or 3 years, and when I went last summer, we went to more of Mexico City there, and it's really nice because there's a lot of gay bars there, and that's never really been there before. It's pretty recent how that's happened, and everyone's more accepting there now. It's kind of here where the more rural areas, it's the gays don't exist, or because they all moved to the city because that's safer and all that stuff.
For example, I visited El Salvador last summer, and there, gay is not it's an accepted thing. I believe it's illegal, so that's definitely a lot different than being in Edina where it is legal. I think in Edina I feel safe in spaces where I know people and people know me. Safe spaces, you could say, the GSA or my personal friend group.
It hasn't affected me much opportunity-wise, mostly because I'm not out. Socially, there are certain aspects that I know that I'm not welcome to speak about around certain cliques and groups that I know don't like people like me. It's just an unspoken, de facto kind of thing. I've felt safe for the most part. Once again, mostly because I'm not out. But I think there have been times when I felt unsafe when someone accidentally mentions it or someone makes an offhanded comment. If they were to know, then it wouldn't be good, and it pushes me back into the closet.
Because I think there is kind of an intimidation factor that keeps people from coming out, in which they're afraid that their entire life will change because they're telling the truth about who they are. I don't want Edina to be another one of those oppressive, fear-based communities.
Lots of things to get involved in. So, I played volleyball in the league. There's an organization called NAGA, which is, if I get it right, it's the North American Gay Amateur Athletic Association, and that's sort of the umbrella organization of my softball league. So we're a league here in town. It's called the Twin Cities Good Times Softball League. It's been in existence since the 70s, and it's 50 some odd teams. There's gay running, there's gay volleyball, there's gay softball, there's gay anything. And that's pretty cool because, I mean, at least for me, at least being you know, a white male gay, you know, in the northern United States here, there are plenty of things for me to go and participate in.
It feels like there is this other culture surrounding me, and a lot of my friends are also in the LGBT community. It's a comfortable zone where I can speak openly and not have to filter myself the way I've had to in other aspects of my life. I actually didn't find out that a lot of my friends are in the LGBTQ community until recently. But having that thing in common, that similar struggle, is a way to connect with other people and get closer to other people. So I've gotten closer to some people just because we're both part of the LGBT community. I've really enjoyed that, and I've met a lot of new people.
Here in the school district, I've never had any issues. And the first time anything ever came up was my first year at the middle school. So this is back in 2000, and we were having our staff Christmas party, and it said, you know, significant others are invited. So I went and checked in with the principal, and I'm like, my significant other is a guy, is this cool or not? And she was like, yeah, absolutely. From students, there also hasn't been anything overtly negative. I mean, it's not something I really talk about much, just because it doesn't matter for what I do here. So, you know, in Spanish 1, we're doing the family unit. So when I introduced the family unit, I introduced my family, and so there was a little bit of buzz about that, but. You know, nobody said anything. I haven't gotten any parent phone calls. I never have. You know, there are still kids who are like, "Oh, that's so gay," and it was hilarious in Spanish 1 because I was walking by some kid just as he says this, and I was like, "Really? Wait, tell me about why this is gay." And he was like, you know, I mean, I'm like, well. No, I don't know. You're the one who said it, so you explained this to me. It was funny. I grew up in Oklahoma, which is a very conservative part of the country. And I don't know if it was immaturity or if it was, you know, fear or whatever, but I didn't even know what to call it, if that makes any sense. I just knew that I was different, and I didn't know how to approach that. I guess I was probably about 20. I did all of this travel by myself, so I was gone backpacking around for about 2 months. And I remember I had this moment. I was sitting on the banks of the Rio de la Plata in Uruguay. And I was sitting there and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And this would be even more amazing if I were with somebody. And, you know, that's going to be a guy, so I may as well just kind of deal with this. And that was really where I kind of put the label on myself for the first time. And that was a big deal. I have a picture of that moment.
Overall, I wouldn't choose to be any other way. I don't wish that I was straight or wish that I was cis, right? Because I think other people can identify with, like, once you realize your queerness, you kind of are able to be open to other things too. Whether it's like seeing other struggles or just trying to live a different way. Because if we really face it, like, most people aren't happy, no matter how they decide, right? So it's kind of like breaking down, what do I actually want out of life and how do I do that in ways that, like, society isn't putting on me. Which I think is, if we're going to bring it back to Edina, which I think is a strong vibe at Edina, whether it's academically, class, race, all of those things.
The support that I've gotten has mainly come from friends and other students. I haven't really talked to adults that much. And part of that is that I'm not sure how safe I feel. It's not that I feel unsafe with them specifically, it's that I feel unsafe with giving that information to anyone who could relay it to my parents. That has made it difficult to come to terms with things and express myself the way I want to, but I've gotten better at that because I can try to be more like myself without telling someone my entire life story. Edina is just kind of a strange place. As a community, Edina has enough money to make sure that LGBTQ students have a significant number of gender-neutral bathrooms so I can use the bathroom sometimes. Please. It's not that the school isn't doing anything, it's that we as a community could be doing more with the resources we have. I think it would be helpful for me and others in my situation to have a few more people to talk to and places to be comfortable in. Even if there was an understanding, I think it's not going to be their first priority to help out a smaller demographic, especially with all the stuff that went down with the YCC. Not sure how much they're going to help the LGBTQ community and most other minority groups. With Edina, I do feel safe in certain classrooms, like in an English class. I feel a little better about talking about LGBTQ issues there because it usually pertains to something that's going on. The students in various classes tend to be generally okay, and I haven't really run into a group of people in a class I can't deal with. Well, I'll take that back. It doesn't seem like the students are different from course to course or that any of the teachers are really bad. It's just that I don't have a lot of chances to talk about it within the course space of, say, biology, even though I think there's stuff to talk about with regards to biology about gender identity and expression that I don't think gets talked about enough, if at all. There isn't a lot of space to talk about it in calculus, but you can always try. I can try to make calculus gay. As a person who has had to stay in the closet behind a couple racks of heavy winter clothing, I feel worried about outing myself at all times. So it's worrying to ask a teacher to do something with regards to gender identity because I'd be worried that things don't always stay contained. If we had a place for anonymous suggestions, obviously there'd be people being disrespectful, just like people don't respect the gender-neutral bathrooms, but there are people who need to use those options. Without that, it's hard to come to a place where you can make important changes.
Honestly, yeah, just pretty much my friends, because there's not really anyone else that I can turn to. Like, I go to GSA, like, sometimes, but, like, not as much as you, because I didn't have time to, but, like, that's still a fun environment to be in, and, like, I really enjoy it. Because it's nice to be surrounded by people who know your struggles and who know what it's like to be you, basically.
Being able to surround myself with people within my support group has really helped me not have random panic attacks, even though I still do. But it's not always about my self-expression, which it has been in the past, like worrying that if I wear the wrong things that someone might find out. Even if those fears are, to a degree, unfounded, I'm still pretty terrified.
So my parents specifically, like, they weren't really, like, raised Catholic, like, they were, but they weren't, like, as soon as they got here, they're like, nah, we ain't about that. And so, like, I remember when I came out to them, I was, like, 13, and I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm gay. Because they were, like, talking about boyfriends, and I was like, no, those don't exist for me. It just kind of, like, came out all of a sudden, and, like, they were really accepting about it, and it was really nice, especially because, like, I know with, like, language barrier and all that stuff, and them trying to understand, like, at first they called it a lifestyle, which I was just like, no. But, like, as time went on, and, like, I kept talking to them about it, because they genuinely want to learn more about, like, what our community was like and all that stuff. Like, they're, like, really accepting about it. They don't care, like, well, they do care, but, like, in, like, a loving way. Like, last year they came with me to Pride because they want to see what it was like, and they had a really good time. And that's something that I'm super thankful for, because I know, especially, like, with, like, Latinos, like, because we're all, like, super religious, well, not, like, super, but it's, like, part of our culture, where it's, like, super religious and, like, superstitious and all that stuff. Right? So I went to my cousin's quinceañera on Saturday, and, like, we're surrounded by, like, a lot of other, like, conservative, like, Latinos and, like, all that stuff, and, like, I had to present myself as more feminine that day because I know, like, who the people I was surrounded by, and like, getting a lot of stares just makes me anxious and all that stuff, because, like, the way I present myself is just, I still have to think about that a lot, because, like, I know they'll either get harassed or, like, called something like that, which really sucks. But that's not, like, everyone, you know, but it's, like, still on it. Yeah, I'm thankful that I had a positive, I am living a positive experience. I was like literally last night at the dinner table, we were talking about lesbians. It was a really good conversation. My mom was, like, telling me how proud she was of me, which was really nice, and it made me cry. Because, like, before she used to be in, like, denial about it. She'd be like, are you sure you don't like men? But they do mean well, and, like, they do try to understand, and, like, that's what I really appreciate, because I know there are other people who don't have those kinds of relationships with their parents, and, like, that's something they'll forever be thankful for.
My main source of support for that has been the GSA. Most of what we do in GSA in middle school is support. I found my way of getting support is being able to help the younger grades, because most of what the 8th graders do is handing out advice. And being able to be there for them in that way and see them looking up to us is really comforting, because it makes us feel like we're comfortable in our identities even when we're not.
I think that we have a city and school district that is largely accepting. There's definitely a lot of things that we can do and do better, but I think in the greater Twin Cities there are some resources. Part of it, unfortunately, is who you know, but there are a lot of different organizations here in the Twin Cities. I know on the political side, Outfront Minnesota is an incredible resource, not only just for politics, but they do sexual violence awareness training, they do other events, and so I'd say in Minneapolis, both socially and politically, there are a variety of LGBTQ organizations and groups.
Transforming families is a really big support network, especially for people who don't feel safe within their own families. Because transforming families, it isn't just a support group for the teens and the young adults and children themselves. You bring your entire family, and then other families who have transgender children can kind of talk to them about what works for them in this kind of very transitional stage.
One really cool thing about this community is that the level of involvement that families have is extremely high. So whether it's political or actually within our schools, the amount of parents that volunteer in our schools, the amount of parents that care about funding for our schools, it's higher than average community. And I think that that's a really great thing, and it should be known to a lot of people that there are hundreds and thousands of adults in this community that want strong public schools, that want to create a community that's inclusive, and to really harness that energy, because there's a lot of potential there, I think, for positive change.
There's definitely this level of like openness among students and staff, but then where I got the most resistance was from parents or community that we see coming out of the news or what have you. So I felt like as a whole, I was accepted in Edina. Pronouns, they were horrible. That's where I was going to go. Students went to that. Staff are like, yeah, totally. And then never ever even tried. There was a bunch that tried. But like, to be people in there too. I use they, them. You know, I just got to the point where I just stop. As long as we're cool, I'm trying to make changes in these other ways. So I'll correct you when you do with students, but like, just like, you can survive them. Like, you kind of have to pick where you're going to go to bed. So I felt like staff were really on board, but like, a lot of times they just like can't get it into their brain that there's other pronouns. I think that's what gender people have to constantly do is educate. You know, so at what point am I going to just like stop? I can't correct every single person, but the point is their intentions are we're good. Compared to other places, I've worked at like super weird places, nonprofits. I've worked at like big county agencies. So I'd say it was better than I expected for acceptance of me. I guess I was pleasantly surprised that I worked at Edina. I think I thought it would be more stuffy, more people keep to themselves, not as open and affirming. What I didn't expect was this extreme undercurrent anti-LGBT, anti-looking at your awareness. I guess I didn't realize how deep those conservative roots were rooted, which I don't think reflects the student population. It was a reality for me. Am I going to live my truth the way that I have for 36 years, 37 years? Or am I going to be afraid to do my job? I chose to live my truth. That has to do with what I have access to as well. So like if I was somebody else where I had like children and I had to pay a mortgage, I might have to play it safer, right? But I was in a position where I could still be me and speak up for students, speak up for my community, for other communities. There was risk to that, and I chose to take it. But I also have the ability to do that. And I think when you're like an adult like me, like you think about what did I want? I would have wanted to see someone like me too. Young people are just craving rational adults, reasonable people to be to. So I just tried to create that. And found that even like cis, like 15-year-old young men would want to talk to me. And when I did it, I was like, these ones for sure are going to like run away. But like the more realness I brought, the more they really be like, you don't like care what your presentation is. Just be like cool with me. Treat me like a child.
So within the high school, I was a member of the GSA, and we did lead Anti-Bullying Awareness Week, which was really awesome. Definitely pushed the envelope more in kind of activism. 2011, I heckled/challenged Tim Pawlenty and Michelle Bachman on their anti-LGBT stances. I boycotted anti-gay business here in Edina in 2011, and then also was kind of leading the charge to push back against our former state representatives' push to restrict marriage, and he was against anti-bullying legislation. And so I was really excited to be part of efforts to do things that I think a lot of high schoolers weren't doing at the time, but now we see a lot more of it, which is really cool.
It was like 2016. I came in after this amazing woman Rachel. There was a really good vibe going there. And when I came back, the Wise Wire was gone. And there was that surrounding that publication came out, and it felt we were like people were afraid. It got worse, for sure. I don't know where that's going to go. Like, is it going to get worse than swing like the pendulum? Like, that tends to happen historically. I feel like people are more accepting. Even with trans stuff, even like little kids. I don't know that I can speak to that.
I've seen small changes, like teachers using less heteronormative wording. I remember in elementary school in 6th grade, there would always be the one day you'll marry a man type thing, but now there's less of that. I've even seen teachers making space for they, them pronouns. Like when they have get to know you note cards at the beginning of the school year, they might ask for your pronouns. I found that was a subtle way of letting people know that they're welcome, and I've seen that getting progressively better as I've moved through school in Edina, which is comforting. In the future, there should be more of that, because now it's only a few teachers. It seems so big because it was rare before, but in reality, it's only a couple teachers who do that, and there's still an overwhelming amount of heteronormativity in the way teachers speak and outdated curriculum. Especially during the relationships unit in health class. I'd never seen so much heteronormativity in one unit.
Within people I know, there has been a lot more acceptance as I've gone through high school. I'm not sure how much of that has been due to us getting older and growing up, and how much is due to other factors, but as far as real things that the school has done, there's not a lot that comes to mind that's been super influential. The one thing that I would say has been helpful to me is that someone whose name I'll leave unknown really lobbied hard for gender-neutral bathrooms, and I thought it was a huge benefit to me that I could have a place to use the bathroom without feeling incredibly dysphoric. Before, it was sometimes even hard to use the bathroom if anyone else was in it. I'd just stand there trying to figure out how to not have a nervous breakdown in the middle of a men's restroom. In U.S. politics, it doesn't seem like anyone wants to make change unless there's a group of people specifically calling for it. Even then, they won't necessarily make the change that needs to happen. For example, there are still a significant number of states where you can legally discriminate against LGBTQ people by denying them housing or jobs. So even when there are huge landmarks, like the legalization of gay marriage, it's still not fundamentally changing the social issues that are at play. More recognition of LGBTQ people would probably lead to better changes in the future. I don't really know how to revolutionize the world. If I did, I would have it done by now. But overall, there could be more recognition in classes, more discussion about it, especially in health or biology where that's stuff you end up talking about. I don't think anyone's acknowledging it as much as it needs to be acknowledged. It doesn't need to take up the entire time we're here because we've got other stuff to do, but we do need to be informed and continue to try to make our community better. It's not something that everyone wants to be talking about, but we've also dealt with other things in school that are not particularly pleasing to talk about. I think it's not necessarily because it's hard to talk about, it's more because of social norms, which kind of lead people to continue along. That has tended to mean that not very many people talk about LGBTQ plus stuff, and that's kind of annoying when you're LGBTQ plus.
I think just an overall change in the Edina public schools, we didn't have gender-neutral locker rooms until very, very recently, thanks to Adrian and Lampron. And gender-neutral bathrooms, too.
Every time I try to go in, it's either used, like, there's, like, someone's, like, shitty, like, zero-neg vape, like, smells in there, or, like, it's clogged, or, like, it's, like, really dirty and nasty, and it's, like, I don't even want to go in there. I kind of wish we had, like, the key thing.
So the key system for gender-neutral bathrooms would entail students having to come out to an administrator or teacher who would then give them, like, a key to access the gender-neutral bathrooms and locker room at the high school. So this is something that's been debated on and off, and currently in 2018, the bathrooms at the high school are accessible without a key, but the locker room's access is controlled with keys.
That's also another thing, like, I don't like going in there because it's like I'm also kind of outing myself, even though I am open about it, but I'm also not because I'm scared of, like, people are like, oh, there's only 2 genders, and, like, that's what I'm still terrified about.
For sure, visibility. So like I said before, I had gotten asked to come in and speak to a couple teacher groups, and that happened a couple years in a row, and then that kind of died. And I think part of the reason that died is because there wasn't really a need for it anymore, and I think that's cool. More awareness on the part of the student body that, you know, these people exist and that they actually live here. You know, like GSA didn't happen in my high school. To have had something like that at the middle school level, I don't know that I would have necessarily gone, but you know, I mean, knowing that it was there, that could have been cool. You know, I think that's a neat opportunity for people that young to be able to start, you know, getting some of these things out of the way. As soon as you develop more of a sense of yourself, you know, I think you have a better shot in life. I think so many things could be better in this school system / country for all sorts of different people.
I'd like it if the gender-neutral bathrooms were open a bit more often. Yeah, that would be pretty nice.
So I came out just under 5 years ago when I was at Southview Middle School, and at that point there was no policy or guidelines as to like deal with LGBT kids going to middle school, and so I worked with the then principal and superintendent. Now they've been replaced because they both retired. I worked with them on drafting a policy that I hope will get put into actual school policy soon, in which it like allows for kids to use the bathroom on field trips, like with people that room with the people they want to room with, etc., just to make people comfortable.
I'm pretty sure I know what like paper you're talking about. They still haven't passed yet.
It's been 5 years.
What is preventing them from passing it?
I think predominantly parents. Very much recently, parents have had a large influence, and people that are not in the United Public Schools, that are teachers, that are students, especially with like the Thinking Minnesota magazine, they've had a large impact on how the United Public Schools are viewed, and I think funding is something that they're worried about, controversy, and even though it shouldn't be controversial to exist, it is. We kind of got a bit of a job interview, we'll call you back, kind of deal with that. I'm not sure where it is right now, probably in like a file cabinet somewhere. But I did talk to Principal Beaton at the beginning of last year, and he had not heard of the bill. So all the people that worked on it are now retired. So we've gotta like start all over with the new administration. There's a lot to be done.
One thing I really pushed when I ran for school board, and I think it needs to be talked more, is truly comprehensive sexual education. When I went to Edina, yes, it was comprehensive technically, but there wasn't consent taught, and sex ed. There wasn't really big discussions on sexual orientation or gender identity. So I think that's a really big thing that I'm passionate about. But in addition to that, I know that as a gay male, I feel welcome in this community, but I know that there are many, and I've heard stories of people who identify as trans or non-binary that do not feel welcome in Edina. And that's an area that I think we need to see improvement on, whether it's inclusive bathrooms or the comprehensive sexual education, or a task force to really make sure that all students feel welcome. Those are all things that I think need to happen.
I guess like I know that like not everything's gonna change like completely and all that stuff, and like it's not gonna be ideal, but honestly just let me chill. Like seriously, like why can't I just like, the amount of times I've been called a dyke just by walking through the hallways is like, it's insane. Let me live, man. I'm minding my own business, you should too. Like I've been called a tranny so many times, like in middle school, here, and like at work. I've become so numb to it that it doesn't even faze me anymore, which sucks because like I shouldn't have to experience that so often and like in so many different places. Like it's crazy. Yeah. And just for everyone else too, like it's not even just me.
I think just like stop caring so much about this or that. Are you this or are you that? Are you man or are you woman? Are you gay or are you straight? And I think the younger generations are doing that, like it's fluid. I'd rather just see people become like, I don't know, you tell me. I need all the answers, so I don't see. Like, I don't have to study all the most recent terms you all use. I don't know what demi boy means. I don't know what that means. I don't have to know. But I can still like support someone with their identity.
You taught me a new word yesterday, and I was like, what was the word yesterday? So Aryan.
What does it mean?
It's like demi boy, but like, we
And
don't like.
if you make your interview Wikipedia of all the time.
Yeah.
Because I might use that in queer, and another person might use it and mean something totally different. Yeah, and that's what I love about queer community is we're just like, we're gonna tear out the rules and we're just gonna live the rule. That's how I want queer to be. So when we did the multicultural show, when I was at YSY, there was a really strong spoken word piece by like 3 young women of color, which is like pretty provocative maybe, and I thought that was gonna get a lot of like, you're fired. You know, they were like owning sexuality and that piece, owning race, owning whatever. But really what got people was the piece that 2 students did around white privilege. People lost their minds, right? And so I think thinking about Edina, like even beyond LGBT, it's this piece around like white privilege and race. White people not being able to is any accountability, just went right to defense.
I don't ever feel like I don't fit in as a gay male. I more times sometimes will feel like I don't fit in as a black gay male in Edina. But I think that's kind of the intersection between race and sexual orientation.
I think that there can be a lot of racism in the gay community. I think there's a lot of classism that happens in the gay community, at least in my experience, and this is outside of the high school because I don't, I'm not plugged into that world here. You come here and as a teacher, you do all sorts of, you've probably heard, we do the equity training and all. I almost feel like when I go back into my friend group that I'm, having to have these same kinds of conversations that I'm learning how to have in my staff development groups. If any community, the gay community should know, pretty damn well what it feels like to be an outcast, to put your head in the sand and go, well, we're okay because we're double income, no kids, and we can do whatever we want. It's like, well, great, maybe you are, but there are a lot of people in your community who aren't so well off and aren't having such a great time. If you're a gay black male, you have like a 50-50 chance of becoming HIV positive just, in your life. And it's like, what? How is that even happening? But I don't think you have to look too far to find out how that's happening. It's the same old, it's access to this and it's access to that and it's education and just where's the outreach happening and where's the money going. I'd love if that changed, but those are similar issues that I would like to see, change everywhere.
Good work doing something like this for your community and your community. You represent as well. Like, remember, you're always like when I moved away, like I didn't always tell people. Like when they asked, like other people from Minnesota, like, where are you from? When you're like in Colorado or wherever I lived last year, and sometimes I would be like, because I didn't want to admit to being from. It's not because it has a negative, like rich kid branding connotation, but now I'm at a point where like, that's where I'm from and I'm part of that community, part of that. So I encourage you all to do that too. If this is where I'm from, and reflect something different than theirs.
Hi, I'm Adrian Lampron, and I use they, them pronouns.
My name is Natalia Madrinan, and I use she, her pronouns. Please like and share this documentary to share the stories of LGBT plus people in Edina.
Thank you for watching.